just a moment. But also check out one of the latest episodes of Boston Has Entered the Chat. We did a special life advice episode to bring in the new year. And it's everything from how to address people at the gym, what do you have to do when your girlfriend doesn't like your friend, is a college degree worth it, and how to figure out what kind of ring to get your girlfriend before you propose. Yes, that's all of that and more. And Boston Has Entered the Chat. It's a fun episode with Travis Thomas and myself. And make sure to check that out wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime, and YouTube. And make sure to also watch on Nesson's YouTube page as well. But now, let's get into Foxborough Rush. What's up? Welcome in. Happy New Year, everyone. He's Keegan Stiefel. I'm George Balekji. Keegs, welcome to 2025, my man.
I'm glad to be here. I just want to let everybody know off the top.
Here we go.
It's the Stiefel flu game, this episode. I feel awful. I will be coughing into my...
Yep. I got you.
You heard the bass in that. It's tough, but we couldn't have a mock draft without me here. I wouldn't have allowed it to happen. So I'm here. I'm fighting through the pain, and I'm happy to be here with you, George.
Hey, you're not the only one. I mean, the flu literally derailed my last week of my life. Of everyone around me, not just me. But Keegs, like you said, this is the Stiefel flu game. This is the Stiefel mock draft. We got such an exciting episode coming up for you guys. The Patriots currently pick 1-1. Right. Which is highly coveted when you have two quarterbacks to pick, all these needs, and they can accrue more picks. So we're kind of hinting at we're both leaning towards trading back. But we will basically go through a full 7-round mock draft. This will be the first of many we do because guess what, guys? We got 4 months of this before the draft goes down in Green Bay. So Keegan and I will dive into it, trade backs. We'll talk about the prospects we like all that and more. And if you're watching, make sure, watching this episode, go to the YouTube page, go to this video and leave a comment what you think of our mock draft, and we'll use this. This is mock draft 1.0. We'll get to 2.0, 3.0, 17.0. This is the stuff we love to do. Keeks, I mean, I texted you. I think it was 1 a.m. last night, and I sent you 3 separate mocks I did.
Yeah, and then you kept me up because I was up until like 2 looking at them, kind of dissecting, like what do I like, what do I don't like. I've been doing mock drafts on my own on Nesson.com. We'll have a ton of those leading into the draft. So in terms of Nesson mock drafts that will be done over the next 4 months, we're looking in the triple digits. It's going to be at a ridiculous amount of mock drafts.
It's like that meme. What is it? When the girl's rolled over in her bed, the guy's on his phone, and she's like, who is he texting? Or like, what is he thinking about? And it's just him. It's me. It's literally like, what does Elliot Wolf do with #1 overall pick?
Fellas, if your girl's upset about you rolled over texting, just say you're texting Keegan and George.
Yeah.
I gotta fire off these mock draft takes, figure out what's going on with the Patriots.
I traded back into the back end of the first, got Michael Williams. I got to show them this, and we'd be all about it.
Love it.
So we'll get to that in a moment, but first we got to talk about the state of the team, man.
Yeah.
40-7 losses, what they're coming off against the Chargers. And I don't even, at this point, Keegan, I don't care to get into like the minute details of Ladd McConkey just lighting up a secondary. We all know who they could have drafted. I don't care. It's just, this team is bad. From top to bottom, the Patriots continue to be bad. And we could talk about, now this is the minute detail, it doesn't have an effect on the game.
Right.
But with Gerard Mayo talking to Scott Zolak an hour before kickoff, saying that Ramondre Stevenson will not play, but Antonio Gibson will get the start. And then Ramondre Stevenson does start the game. And then after the game, Gerard Mayo says, well, it was a coaching decision. The small things of communication where, all right, Gerard Mayo didn't want him to start, but someone along the lines, and Alex Van Pelt most likely, never got that message and ended up it is a mess all over. Gerard Mayo's been in over his head, and it's nothing against him. Elliot Wolf's been in over his head. This roster is the worst in the NFL, really, in my opinion, and they weren't given a fair shot. The state of the team right now, Keegan, it is spiraling, and they are in disarray. They're unprofessional. They're unserious. And it's insane this is happening to the Patriots because we know you don't have to go really far back to see how well buttoned up they were.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to a few decisions that were made. And we've talked at length about when those decisions were made. You know, the Robert Kraft story about 5 years ago in Israel, he made the decision that Gerard Mayo was going to be his next head coach. You know, whether you want to believe that or not, whatever. At the end of the day, decisions were made that led them to this point. And I think me and you both look at it as, you know, you can either double down on them and you continue to move forward. You can try to kind of put things around them to make them more successful, or you can just move on. What I would do and what you would do is probably different from what they're going to do. And I think we've all kind of come to that realization over the last few weeks. You've heard the reports. Adam Schefter has been really adamant about the fact that Gerard Mayo's not going anywhere.
Yep.
And if he's not going anywhere, neither is Elliot Wolf. And you would think Alex Van Pelt, who's probably done the best out of the four, main coaches, the three coordinators and the head coach, he seems like he might end up being the scapegoat. Yep. So in terms of what everybody wants to happen and believes should happen, the opposite feels like it's going to happen, if that makes sense. So it's really a confusing time. If you want to go back to Saturday and the way they looked against LA, it's a bad football team.
Yep.
It's a bad roster. They're poorly coached. At this point, they're playing out the string, and who can blame them, right? Keon White said it himself. I'm just trying to get through these last 2 games and get to the offseason where changes will be made. They're in a really tough spot, and they're going to have to make hard decisions to move past that. I just don't know if they will.
When I watch all this unfold, my one thing, and I love that you point out the reports, because we've heard the reports from Diana Rossini.
Right.
Excuse me. We've heard the reports from a Diana Rossini, from an Adam Schefter,
right,
from an Ian Rappaport. It all sounds like the Crafts are going to stick by Gerard Mayo, but there's the caveat of let's see how the last 3 games finish. My question to the Crafts are you really going to look past the first 14 games and base off keeping Gerard Mayo solely on the last 3? The last 3 where you just lost to the Bills 24-21 in a game you led 14-0. You're going to keep Gerard Mayo based off a game where the Chargers ran you off your own field and they seriously looked like they were in the NFL, the Chargers, and the Patriots looked like a elevated NCAA team, like looking like the Cleveland Browns. Are you seriously going to keep Gerard Mayo based off just 3 games and completely ignore the previous 14? Because the team we've seen week 1, week 7, week 12, week 14, and about to be week 18 has been the same team or worse as the season goes on. And it's nothing against Gerard Mayo. He was thrusted into a role with just 5 years of tangible, actual NFL coaching experience. But George, Dan Campbell, year 1, he struggled as a head coach of the Lions, and they kept him. Dan Campbell had been coaching in the NFL for 10 years before he got that job. He was an interim head coach with the Miami Dolphins. He was an associate head coach with the Saints for 5 years, learning from Sean Payton before he got that job. Don't give me the Dan Campbell comparisons. He was right timing, right guy for the job. But are you really going to look past the last 14 games and base it off the 3? Because even this one from Ian Rappaport, when he reported, quote, "Now, if things go off the rails, I'm not going to read the rest." It's been off the rails all season long. It's been in how the head coach handles the media. It's the lack of communication between the head coach and his coordinators. It's a lack of improvement from the coordinators. This is something where the Crafts have to put their hands on it, grab a hold, and get the train back on the rails. And it stinks. I know they don't want to do it, and I don't like calling for people's jobs this quick. They need to blow everything up. Because you're going to bring back the general manager that never got the team a left tackle when they needed it. You're going to bring back the whole front office that whiffed on everything in this draft aside for Drake May. Because when you think of the Elliott Wolves, the Matt Groves, the Patrick Stewarts, the Sam Fioraronis, those are all carryovers from Bill Belichick. And it's always, okay, well, if you fire Gerard Mayo, but who's the person you're going to bring in? If Mike Vrabel is serious and interested about becoming the head coach of the New England Patriots, do you think he wants to work with an Elliott Wolf? He wants his guy. And let's say you keep a Gerard Mayo. What offensive coordinator is going to want to come in and work for a dead-end head coach with a seat that's going to be on fire to start next season? The Crafts miscalculated and were wrong by elevating Gerard Mayo to the head coach. And again, it's nothing against Gerard Mayo. He wasn't given a fair shot with the roster. He wasn't given a fair shot with his coaching staff. He wasn't given a fair shot with the resources and investment from ownership and leadership of the team. But if the Crafts actually want to correct the mistake, it's not keeping Gerard Mayo. It is hitting the reset button because they have the quarterback that they need. They miscalculated who they brought in as a head coach to replace Bill Belichick. They need to correct it now. That's my thing. Because, Keegan, look, the way I look at this, man, cigarettes are awful for you. They'll kill you. No one should ever smoke. But watching this team every Sunday, it makes you want to smoke cigs. This team's bad for your health. So the best thing the Crafts can do for themselves and for the fan base is correct everything, start anew, head coach, front office, all of that. Clean house and be serious about this hiring process. Interview head coaches, interview general managers, interview directors of pro personnel, and bring in the right people for the jobs. Completely put Bill Belichick and the prior tenure behind them, start anew without any connections to the past, and admit themselves they were wrong, but the best thing they can do is correct their mistakes.
we'll talk about it till we're blue in the face, right? What we want to do, what we would do, what the Patriots should do. The fact of the matter is, they're probably not going to do it, right? And
I hate that, man.
I've throughout the season, I kind of banged the drum for Jerod Mayo a little bit because, in my eyes, you need to give a guy 2 years, especially somebody who had no prior head coaching experience.
Yeah.
The on-field stuff you learn, right? Like the game management and the making decisions with personnel on game day, on the field. That's the stuff you learn, and I kind of really didn't care about what they looked like this year, what the record would be, what the team looked like, because I don't think a lot of these guys are going to be on the team next year. So throughout the season, I was big on give him a second year, give Elliott Wolf a second year, a full offseason to kind of do what they need to do. But the real issue for me is what's happening off the field.
Yeah.
And it's the mixed messaging, right? Jerod Mayo every single week seems to stick his foot in his mouth. And it's not just stuff that makes him look silly. It makes his players look bad. It makes him look incompetent. It makes the rest of his coaching staff look incompetent. He's throwing guys under the bus whether he wants to or not. The Alex Van Pelt thing after the Arizona game where he said, "You said it, not me," about Drake May. Should he be running more? Should there be more designed runs? It's things like that. And what I see when I hear those things and what that brings to my mind is he's not fit for the role. He's not fit to shoulder the responsibility of a full franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And do I think he could figure things out as a coach? Like, do I think the defense will get better in year 2 under Jerod Mayo? Absolutely. Do I think game management will get better? Do I think personnel decisions will get better? Yes. There's no reason for you not to think that because, believe it or not, excuse me, they have throughout the season, right? But what I don't think will get better is the messaging to the players and whether or not these players are going to continue to play hard and well for a guy who just sticks his foot in his mouth every week and who doesn't seem like he has a grasp on what this job actually is, which is the CEO of the Patriots. That's Robert Kraft's title. But in all actuality, Jerod Mayo's the CEO. He's the one who's overlooking everybody else and making sure they're doing their jobs correctly to where they can be successful on Sunday. I don't think he has the capabilities of doing that. He hasn't shown that. He hasn't shown any growth to get to that point. So, like George said, like I've been saying the last couple of weeks, it's probably time to move on. Cut bait. Either fish or cut bait. They're not fishing. Let's bring somebody else in, probably as well on the executive level. Just reset. I don't think they'll do that because of what we've heard through the reports. And we're going to get into kind of what they can do to fix that with the people in the building. But the fact of the matter is these guys are probably going to be back next year. And your focus now as a fan and for us as people who follow the team is putting people around Jerod Mayo and Elliott Wolf to be successful moving forward instead of tearing everything down because that's just not is what's going to happen. That didn't make any sense. But
I'm going to go on the other end. I don't think they're going to be back. These stadiums in Foxborough have been half empty. The concession stands, there's no lines. Once it's hitting their pockets and it's another year of this team being this bad and it's another year of just front office incompetency, their connection to Jerod Mayo, it's not they. It's Robert Kraft. Like, why would Jonathan Kraft have notes, be taking notes to critique and give feedback to the head coach? This is clearly a Robert Kraft hire because Robert Kraft's the one that comes out and attaches him to Jerod at the hip 5 years ago. The best thing they can do, though, they cannot bring this front office back. And I'm sorry. Like, Elliott Wolf, I know he's learned on the outside, but that's a guy that's been with the Patriots since 2020. And the reason you fired Bill Belichick was because of how he was making personnel decisions and how he was drafting. Matt Groh with the Pats since 2011. Those are the top two guys in your front office. How could you bring anyone back that's in that building? And there is. Okay, who do you get? Ray Agnew, Lions assistant general manager. Been with the team since 2021. We'll go more in depth to this on another show, but all the draft picks they've hit on, the free agency signings they've made that have paid off, and a guy that played for the Patriots in the past, but doesn't have that long-term connection to Detroit, probably wants to lead his own front office. He was a director of pro personnel for the LA Rams. Look at how good the Rams have been personnel-wise for this long of a run. That's someone you bring in to lead a front office. That's someone that knows how to build around a Drake May. And that is someone that sounds like to me, he worked with Dan Campbell. I bet you he can work with a Mike Vrabel. All right, let's get into the draft then, Keeks. Enough personnel talk, enough big picture talk.
Let's have some fun, George.
Right, and this is what I love. Like, I'm doing like not even 3 a day. I think like 3 every few hours, and I'm absolutely loving it. And the best thing, we're going to use PFF setup. And we'll put it on your screen as well. So I got one laptop with the PFF setup drafting, the other laptop with my notes. Keegan has his notes as well. So we'll get into that. Now, if you love this Foxborough Rush, if you love this football discussion, make sure to check out new episodes of Foxborough Rush dropping every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, wherever you watch your podcasts as well. Go to Neston's YouTube page, hit the subscribe button. We got new episodes dropping every week. We'll have mock drafts coming out. And Keegan, as he said, he's putting out his Patriots offseason manifesto. We will talk about those on Foxborough Rush as well. So the Patriots are picking number 1 overall, Keegan.
That's right, baby.
Thank you, New York Giants, and thank you, Indianapolis Colts.
Maybe. I mean, let's all, knock on wood, but
yes,
this weekend's a big one. If they end up beating Buffalo, it might be the worst thing that's happened in this franchise in the last 20 years.
When you are picking 1-1, the world is your oyster. There are 2 quarterbacks in this draft, Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward. A lot of teams that want quarterbacks. We'll get into all the details on this. We have to add, though, that so much can change. Not just the draft order for the Patriots.
Right.
If there's a new GM in leading the front office like I want, a new head coach, players we're picking now can fit certain schemes that may not be the scheme come time for the draft. So this is why this is mock draft 1.0. A lot will change, but we're going to have a lot of fun. Now, Keegs, though, I want to give a shout out to our producer, Ethan.
That's right.
Because he made sure Travis chimed in before we start our first mock draft. I don't know what this is about. It's tea, so it can go any which way. If I had to guess, it would have to do with someone named Travis. But here it is. Let's check out what Travis Thomas has for us.
What up, Keegs? What up, George? Our producer just hit my line. Said that you guys were doing some sort of mock draft for the Patriots and that he just kept hearing trade back. Take this lineman. Trade back. Take this guy. Value. Late round picks. More picks. Assets. Hey, guys, you still haven't learned, huh? You still haven't learned. You had a chance. One chance. You only had one job. Get Travis Hunter by any means necessary. You were right there. He was on the board, staring you in your face. One of the best two-way players of all time in college football. Maybe the GOAT all time as far as two-way players. Begging, telling you, I want to go to New England and play corner and play wide receiver and be a game breaker, be a game changer on a team that has none. And what did you do? What'd you do? Trade back for some fat dude that can block. I mean, you guys have got to be kidding me. So, even though I'm not here right now, I warned you. I said, if you pass up on Travis Hunter, when I see you next, you got a size 13 coming right at your head. When I see you, it's on. And you better keep your head on a swivel, because it's a shoe coming right upside your head. I promise you. How can you pass up on Travis Hunter? Y'all ought to be ashamed of yourselves.
There's only one Travis Thomas. There's only one Travis Hunter. There's only one Travis Thomas.
I can see the shoe. It's
he left it in the studio.
He just walked out without a shoe, I guess.
Before he said size 13, Keegs, you and I thought the same thing. That's a big-ass shoe.
It's a big shoe.
Hey, Trav, I hear you, and I'm not ignoring the greatness of Travis Hunter. As you guys see, it's on your screen right now.
That's right.
The settings we're going public, slower draft order. You know what? You guys don't care about that minutia. Let's get into the draft then.
Let's do it.
Let's start it. So I'm firing it up on PFF. 27 teams want to trade with us, Keegan.
Yeah, it's the number one pick, right?
Number one pick, 27 teams want to trade. Now, Browns at 3, Giants at 4, Jaguars at 5, Panthers at 6. Look, everyone, let's just go. Keegan, the realistic teams I think would trade up. I think the New York Giants at 4.
Yep.
Because there has to be the rightful return. I'm not going to trade back just to get to 6 because there is leverage in the situation. I think it's 2 firsts. I think it's 2 seconds and possibly a player, a starting level player,
right,
or possibly another pick, maybe 3 firsts. I think the Giants, I think the Jets at 7. We'll see if Robert Kraft would allow that. The Raiders at 8. All of that makes sense to me. Who do you see that would make, those are teams that would make sense to trade back with?
Yeah, just a little background on those two, because I agree with the same exact teams. It's New York at 4.
Yep.
It's New York again. The Jets
New Jersey
at 7.
5.
New Jersey at 7. And Las Vegas at 8, right?
Yeah.
Those are the 3 teams because they're the ones looking for a quarterback. I think Cleveland will also be looking for a quarterback, but Deshaun Watson is in place. They restructured things so they can kind of figure that out. Maybe they'll bring in a young guy and try to just eat the money over the next few years for Deshaun, but only moving back 2 spots. I don't know what you're going to get in terms of a return.
Yeah.
Jacksonville doesn't need a new quarterback. They just paid their guy. Carolina has to feel decent with Bryce Young. They have so many other needs to fill. Like, I think that's actually the worst team in the NFL is Carolina. So
yeah, and Carolina, I mean, they really need to get better on defense.
Right.
At 6, they are Mason Graham, Abdul Carter,
right, Ted
McMillan, Will Johnson area. All of those are needs.
Right.
I don't see them giving away the future to get 1-1 because, yes, they can use a Travis Hunter. Let's go there. It doesn't make sense for them. Yes, they can use a quarterback, but next year's quarterback draft is good. Right. So, yeah, I don't think Carolina's plausible. I don't think it's a practical trade partner.
Let's explore those 2 options because you have control. So I'm going to be barking orders at George when I can.
Okay.
I want to look at what New York's willing to offer, what we can get from them, and then what Las Vegas is willing to offer. Because I think with the player thing that you talked about, I think that's a big aspect of this to where if you can get a legit veteran player who can come in and start for you right away on top of those picks, that's huge. So because New York is the one that I have my eye on.
Yeah. So we'll play this little role-playing, Keegs. I am the GM, and you're my assistant GM.
Sure.
Cool with that? Awesome.
Love it.
So, and what you point out, Keegan, this is why you're my right-hand man. This is why you're my assistant GM. Say we get a starting level player in return along with all these picks.
Right.
What are these picks? Potential and prospects that are nothing.
Right.
They can amount to nothing. If I get a real player in return, that's what's big. All right, so Joe Shane is picking up. The Mariners decided to bring him and Brian Dable back. So we're going to give up 1-1. I want their first. I want their second. I want next year's first, next year's second. And you spoke a little bit about selecting a player.
Right.
What do you think? Who is a player you'd want from the Giants? There's a need for the Patriots offensive line, wide receiving room, defensive line, and secondary. Let's go there. Malik Neighbors, not going to trade him. Wan'Dale Robinson, that's not worth it if I'm getting a player.
The offensive line, we talked earlier. Andrew Thomas, but they're not going to be willing to trade him.
There's no way
Evan Neal, is that worth anything really at this point? George thinks he's a complete bust. I think he's probably better than some of the options you have in your room right now.
Yeah.
But the name that comes to mind for me is Azeez Ojulari because they've got 3 edge defenders.
Yep.
2 of them, one of them has already been paid, and then 2 of them are going to be looking to get paid soon.
Yep.
And Ojulari is going to be up before Kayvon Thibodeau, and I think he's going to be the guy. If anybody's available for them, it's going to be Azeez Ojulari. So when I look at this draft, I think 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and the best pass rusher on your team, he'll come in and immediately be that for you. You fill a void that you're looking to fill throughout the draft, and you'll do it with a player while trading that number 1 pick. This is my favorite option on the board.
Yeah, I think, and he's going to be 25 next season.
Yeah, he's a child.
Not even in his prime. So before we put in Azeez Ojulari, this year's first and second were good. Next year's first and second were good. Then that dropped it to 40% chance to be accepted. Fine. Sweeten the pot. Would it be Atlanta's pick, the 3rd rounder, the extra 3rd rounder? You throw that in?
I think you can go 102.
Let's try. All right, let's go back to the 4th round. 53% chance. Now, so I like this return. A first, a second, next year's first and second. So we'll have 2 seconds in this draft.
That's essentially what you'd be getting for 1-1, right? You get the 2 firsts and 2 seconds, and then Ojulari you'd be getting for that 4th round pick.
Do we even check out what the Raiders want?
We can do that. I don't know if they'll be able to offer anything like Ojulari on top of the 2 firsts and the 2 seconds.
What do you get from Vegas? Jacoby Myers?
Jacoby Myers is nice, right? It's a nice player. I think what you're looking for in terms of value, because when you move to 4, we'll talk about it.
Yep.
What's going to be your number 1 option? Are you going to be looking at a Travis Hunter, a guy who can play wide receiver,
a Mason Graham,
Ted McMillan, or a Mason Graham, or an offensive lineman? So
let's go.
Go ahead.
Let's pull the trigger on this.
All right, let's do it.
Joe Shane's down. The Mariners are desperate. They want a quarterback because of Danny Dimes. We're going to offer the trade, so we're going to trade the 1st overall pick, the 102nd overall pick for this year's 1st and 2nd, next year's 1st and 2nd, and Azeez Ojulari, a 25-year-old pass rusher, which the Patriots need desperately. Offer accepted. Well done, Keegan.
Sick.
Well done. All right, let's resume the draft.
This is when you go and shake everybody's hand around the war room, and you're like, well done. Great way to get that trade done.
Shador 1, Cam Ward 2. Who do the Browns take? Ted McMillan. So Travis Hunter is there at 4.
That's what we're hoping for.
I say we do it.
Let's do it.
Let's go Travis Hunter.
I don't want a shoe getting thrown at my head when Trav gets into the office next week.
Well, he won't, because look what we did.
Right,
Well, we did
so
trade back. We're
Best
gonna
of
do
both
this.
worlds, Trav. We got to piss you off at first, and then you're going to come in and you're going to say, oh, you're right. You got Travis anyway. So
And what's
all right.
look, Travis Hunter, I really do think he'd be wide receiver 1 in this draft if he was a full-time
Absolutely.
receiver.
I agree.
And he'd be making a case for CB2 between him and Will Johnson.
If you could give me just one moment on Travis Hunter, because
Go.
something that's really gotten under my skin over the last few weeks is the prospect fatigue that we've seen from him.
What's a prospect fatigue? Like, we're just constantly talking about, so people end
He's
up
been
knocking
in the
him.
limelight for 3 years.
Yeah.
He's been the number 1 prospect in the 2025 draft for
Yeah.
3 years. So when you finally get to that point, you've heard it so much. He's
Yep.
in the Heisman conversation. There's the weird stuff about his girlfriend where if you care about that, please go touch grass.
Yep.
But it's all this stuff, and he's been in the limelight, and you've heard his name so much that you're almost sick of hearing it. And at times for me, I'm like, enough. I don't want to listen to Travis Hunter anymore. You start thinking about the offensive lineman. You start thinking about Abdul Carter, who's exploded onto the scene, and you see how valuable he is to a defense after he missed the second half of last week's game for Penn State. But the fact of the matter is, Travis Hunter's the best player in this draft. 1-1, no doubt about it. I think if they drafted him 1-1, I wouldn't be upset about it. So if you're going to trade back and try to recoup some value and then also have a chance to draft him, you do it.
Yep.
Screw the positional value. Screw what your biggest needs might be. Go get the best player in the draft, and that's
Bingo.
Travis Hunter.
Bingo, 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 bingo. And I think the big part, too, the draft is after free agency. Is there a wide receiver 1, an actual wide receiver 1 in the Patriots room? Because you have Travis Hunter. He's a corner opposite of Christian Gonzalez. You got
Right.
2 lockdown guys. And on the money downs, third down. In the red zone, you have someone that is such an elite. You get Garrett Wilson.
Right.
You have an elite corner, and then you get Garrett Wilson on the biggest downs for your franchise quarterback. So we're drafting Travis Hunter. Now, we're going to keep the pace slow because, Keegan, we have 33, 36, and 65. I would like to trade back into the first possibly.
Get rid of one of those seconds. We don't need 2 seconds.
We don't need 2 seconds. Now, draft's going through. So Will Johnson, Will Campbell gone. 8.
I think right here, I mean, we'll see it. It's on the screen. So, like,
Malachi
these tackles are
Starks.
going to start to go, right?
Yep.
And we talked about it earlier where the tackle class might not be top heavy, but that middle class is really decent. And there's a lot of these guys who are going to get drafted in the first round. So if one of them slips to 24 through 28, that's where we might want to pounce.
So I paused the draft. Kelvin Banks went at 14. Dolphins, Bengals, Seahawks upcoming, all need tackles. Do we want to trade with one of them?
It's too early. I think it's going to cost you a lot to
Go
trade
back
back
into
up into the top 20. It's going to cost you probably both of those seconds. So
All right, let's resume the draft then. Let's get back to it. So Kelvin Banks just went. Dolphins,
like I said,
Josh Simmons.
these are a
Bengals.
lot of good options too. Like we're not
Emeka
running
Egbuka.
out this early. Josh Simmons, you miss out on that guy. Ursery, you miss out on that guy.
Ursery, I'm fine. Wyatt Millum is a dude I love. That's a good
Right.
pickup by the Seahawks. Benjamin Morrison going to the Texans. Broncos could use a tackle, but they just signed Bowles. Buccaneers are fine. Mike Williams, that's a good pick. Chargers go
They
receiver.
don't need a tackle.
Now I think we're getting into tackle range. I'm going to pause it here.
24 is perfect.
Do we trade with the Packers? Do we trade with the Steelers? Both teams need a tackle. Let's see.
I think the Steelers might be able to give you something better for less. Like 24 and 25, the value there isn't huge. They both need a tackle, but if you're able to go 36
and 81, you might have to. 36 and 137. We got rid of 102. Nope, 137 doesn't do it.
might have to be 36 and 81.
That's likely. Well, let's get something else in return then. Can we get 159 back? A top 160 pick just outside the top 150. What about 125? So we lose 81. We could get 24 and 25. 125.
Yeah, I don't hate that. You
Let's
want to
do
pull
it.
the trigger there?
Let's do it.
You got to offer the trade. You resume the
Oh
draft.
my God. Thank you.
That was almost a disaster.
That would have been an Elliott Wolf type move. 81.
He just hangs up the phone before they finish the...
Not accepted.
All right. So
let's
maybe go...
Let's see the Steelers.
Right, maybe back up one.
Take off 81. Let me give 137. They say no. Okay.
They really want that tackle, huh?
So let's offer the same trade. One spot back. Accepted. Boom. That's how you do it, folks.
That's huge.
All right. Resume draft.
Now you're just kind of hoping that Green Bay doesn't go tackle. They probably will, though.
Kenneth Grant.
There
Okay,
you
the
go.
interior defensive line.
Let's look at the tackles then.
So we're going to look tackle. Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State. A lot of versatility to his game.
Yeah.
Jonas Avanea Started at right tackle for Arizona, moved to left tackle. This dude is huge. He's a mover.
Giant.
He is athletic. Actually has good footwork, which I like a lot, which is important with mirroring guys on the edge. He is projected to possibly be a guard at the next level. But again, this is after free agency. Did the Patriots go out and trade for or sign an offensive tackle? A guy that could be a placeholder, like a Cam Robinson.
Yeah.
A guy that can be a placeholder or a younger tackle like the one the Rams have, the one I know that you love as well.
Yeah, Alaric Jackson,
Exactly.
I think, is the perfect guy to go for.
Okay, so that's the tackles are looking at. We just got an edge player, wide receiver, Elika Yomenor, the last of the first-round receivers. I don't love his game, I think, at that high.
And I think, in all actuality, like, we traded up for a tackle, right?
Yep.
So let's not get pretty with the wide receiver, maybe a tight end. Excuse me. I think you just go and take one of the tackles. I prefer Jonah. I'm not going to attempt the last name.
Jonah Savanaya?
Yeah, but if you're into Zabel or whatever, I think you trade up, you go get a tackle. And then in the offseason, I think that they're going to go and get a free agent. Mm-hmm. Now you have your two bookend tackles. For me, in my brain, I'm looking at Alaric Jackson on the left side, Jonah on the right side.
Yep.
I feel pretty decent about that.
Yeah. If you guys are enjoying the football conversation, make sure to check out new episodes of Foxborough Rush, dropping every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, wherever you get your podcasts. And also make sure to head over to Nesson's YouTube page, hit the subscribe button because you can watch all the episodes as well. Leave a comment, especially in this mock draft episode, as we would love to hear your guys' feedback on what you think of our first and second overall picks, and also what you would do in your own mock. That's Foxborough Rush, wherever you get your podcasts. All right, we're going to do it. Jonah Savanaya.
Go for it.
6'5", 336 pounds.
It's a big boy.
Right tackle, left tackle, can play on the edge, can play in the guard, versatility. If you sign a left tackle in free agency, he could be your right tackle.
Yeah, I think this is a really a pick that they could possibly make because Elliott Wolf values those guys who can play all over the offensive line so much. So I think it fits.
All right, now we're at pick 33. So right after, we're in Jonah Savanaya, when Elika Yomenor, Omarion Hampton, running back, James Pierce on the edge, Tyler Williams, interior offensive lineman, Caleb Johnson.
Defensive.
Tyler Warren going to Kansas City.
Stuff.
All right, they got their next Travis Kelce. So we got trade offers up the wazoo, but I say we stick here at 33.
Right. I think at this point, trades are a little silly.
Yeah, let's have fun.
We traded back up in. I think we should probably just grab guys that we really like, right?
Yeah.
And just to reset, you attacked the edge thing. You got Azeez Ojulari.
Yep.
You needed a tackle. You got Jonah. You got the best player in the draft in Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
So now it's really about filling in the gaps around those guys,
Yep.
right? I think they can go anywhere with these picks. I know you love the idea of getting a cornerback. So if you want to go for one of these guys, Trey Amos is obviously he's played in the SEC. He's been successful in the SEC, but we've seen guys like that kind of flame out the next level. Yeah. I love Siobhan Revel. I don't know about you.
I do too, but we just got a corner when there's a massive need, especially on your interior defensive line.
I agree.
Now, TJ Sanders, 6'4", 290. That's big, not the biggest, but that's a guy that's been good against a run. And with a pass rush win rate of 12.5%, I mean, it's good. And we've seen him mainly line up in the B gap. And this is when it gets into, are we going to be a 3-4? Are we going to be a 4-3 coming the season? I like TJ Sanders. I think LT Overton is good, but you know what? He's kind of a finished product. I love Siobhan Revel. Drafting Travis Hunter is what changes a lot for me.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking we do here? Walter Nolan
I think
is a big body.
Of the players on this board, something we haven't talked about is the fact that they need an off-ball linebacker.
Yes.
Jawan Bentley went down, and it bundled that defense. Like Christian Ellis was starting. You had to play Jelani Tavai out of position. Sion Takitaki's just not he wasn't good enough to be on the field.
Yep.
Jihad Campbell's one of my favorite players in the draft. I think he will be a first-round pick, but if he falls to 33, I know everybody positional value, whatever.
Yeah.
The Lions took an off-ball linebacker in the first round a couple years ago, and he's one of the best in the NFL.
Jack Campbell.
So go ahead, take your uber-athletic off-ball linebacker who can move around.
All right.
That's what I like. I don't know about you.
I mean, there will be interior defensive linemen. And Christian Barmore could be back and fully healthy.
I think the depth on the defensive line, whether it be interior or on the edge, is better than it is off-ball.
Yep.
So you attack that need first. You get the guy who is at the top of a not-so-deep class.
Yep.
And then you fill in the gaps with these guys. You know, we're going to run into the Jack Campbells and JT Tuimoloau's of the world in the next round. it doesn't really matter if you get interior or edge guys. At this point, you just need defensive linemen because you can move around what you already have. The Keon White can slide inside, right? You're expecting more out of Devon Godshaw.
Yep.
I really like the idea of taking Jihad Campbell here.
And Jihad Campbell, that is a freak athlete. You know what's really big with him, Keegan? He's a sure tackler.
Yeah.
The Patriots stunk at tackling this season. And even, hey, we brought up Jack Campbell. You know what? If Ray Agnew is leading this front office, he was there when they took Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Brian Branch. Jack Campbell, everyone said that was way too high. Brian Branch, everyone's like, what? No, people don't know his position at the next level.
Yeah.
That's what you get with Jihad Campbell, but also he has a lot of versatility. Can play the Sam, the Will. He can blitz off the edge.
Sideline to sideline guy, which
Very
you don't
athletic.
have, right? Jawan Bentley's great.
Yeah.
He's not the kind of athlete that Jihad Campbell is.
You know what? And I like going with Jihad Campbell here because I don't want to go corner. I don't want to force an interior D-line. Let's go Jihad Campbell. Look at you, man. That's why you're my assistant GM, because you have your guy and you advocate for him and you make me pick him.
I was down in the trenches. I was in Birmingham. I was walking around the high schools back then, watching him when he was a high schooler, right? It's my guy.
All right. All right. Top available prospect is your guy, Cam Scatterbo. We haven't gone wide
Let's
receiver.
not forget, I invented Cam Scatterbo on this podcast like 5 weeks ago. I talked about how great he was.
And then what do you know what happened right after
Yeah,
that?
best player in the college football playoff. So.
Okay, so now here's my thing. Cam Scatterbo's there. We need pass catchers. We need pass catchers. Because we know who we've picked so far. And a recap, Travis Hunter, corner, and a pass catcher on the money downs. Jonas Avenaya, who is a versatile offensive lineman, likely right tackle, and Jihad Campbell, who's an off-ball linebacker, which his defense needs because they've been terrible against the run. Right. Now, if we look at where it's going, though, here are two guys. There are three guys I like in this spot.
Yep.
There's Jalen Royals out of Utah State. To me, it's Dontavian Wicks 2.0. Bit of a project. So guess what? I'm not bringing Hughes back. I'm bringing in a new wide receivers coach for the Patriots because I need someone that can develop guys. Harold Fannin Jr., yes, he's a tight end. He's a pass catcher. He could be David Njoku. And then there's Trey Harris. Big catch radius, good downfield receiver. Not the quickest, not the best of separation. That's what worries me. I want to go pass catcher here. I'm leaning Jalen Royals. This is likely our last chance. You're not going to get Royals and Fannin here. I like Jalen Royals. What are you thinking, Keegan?
So here's what I see with those three players. Royals, Fannin, Harris. Javon Baker, David Njoku, N'Keal Harry. Mm-hmm. Which one would you rather have, George?
David Njoku.
Yeah, so I would take Harold Fannin, and I wouldn't even think twice about it. I don't like this receiver class. It's something that I think we'll talk about moving forward.
Yeah.
This is probably the worst one we've seen in the last 5 years.
Yep.
Because you don't have the Lad McConkeys of the world, the guys who are going to just step in at the next level and
be
be
a
able
pro
to play.
receiver from day one.
Lot of projects.
Yep.
And there's two guys at the top. It's McMillan, it's Travis Hunter, and then it's a bunch of projects.
Yep.
I don't trust the Patriots front office, coaching staff, anybody in that building to figure out wide receiver. So take the sure thing at tight end. Austin Hooper's a free agent. And
he was great this season.
Excuse me. He had a great season.
Yeah.
He's going to want to cash in. This is really his last chance to get some good money.
Yeah.
I think he can go somewhere maybe like a Detroit and be their number 2 tight end and make a good amount of money, not a great amount of money, but compete to try to win a championship. He's not doing that in New England. So I think he's as good as gone. Go and get your number 2 tight end and the guy who will be your top tight end in 2 years, in 3 years.
Jalen Royals to Javon Baker is a perfect comp where Jalen Royals has the flashes of athleticism.
Right. You have no idea what he's going to be at the next level.
He's a JUCO guy, went to Utah State. What he's going to be at the next level, huge question mark. I do not, as Ray Agnew, I do not trust my coaches. I need to make things easy for them. I need to do a lot of the work and get your things. Fannin Jr., receiving tight end. So guess what? He's a pass catcher.
Also, I
doesn't have a big base, not going to be a great blocker. He's a pass catcher.
I know we're going back and forth between you're talking about being Ray Agnew, I'm talking about being Elliott Wolf. The fact of the matter is, if they bring back, like in a world where they bring back the coaching staff in the front office, Alex Van Pelt knows how to use tight ends.
Yes.
Go and get him a super athletic tight end and a guy. You said like he's not a great blocker. I don't think I've seen anybody show as much effort as Harold Fannin does. And let's not forget, I talked about it with Trav a few weeks ago. The most prolific tight end season in the history of college football. That's this guy. At Bowling Green, he did it. And they played Penn State. They played Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good football player, and I think he can contribute immediately. This is my guy right here.
Yeah, this is the dude this is the one that you are pushing hard for. And no, I love it. You put him on the radar for me, and I just think that what he can do, what he did at Bowling Green was great, and what he can continue to do, I think is so important. And like, Keegan, you and I said it, they need weapons.
Right, it doesn't matter.
Receiver, tight end, running back, that's a good pass catcher. He's 6'3", he's 230. In 3 years at Bowling Green, especially this year, was a great performance for him. 3.7 yards per route run. Now, at Bowling Green, he's going to be the offense, so that's why you see the huge yards per route run, but the efficiency is there. And I think this is someone that was averaging 13 yards per catch. Route running needs to be better. Like, he was screen heavy, but he's good after the catch. And guess what? You have an athlete, get open. I'm going to tell you where to go and make plays after you catch the ball because Drake May will get it to him. Let's go with Fan in here. He's the most sure thing out of the guys we're staring at. We want to go receiver and we want to go pass catcher. All right, pick 126. As you guys can see, I sped up the draft order a lot. Ooh. So, there have been corner, tackle, linebacker, tight end. I know you see Cam Scatterbo.
Yeah, he's sick. I don't think they should draft him.
I don't think you take him. Man, you know what? We passed on Trey Harris. You know who's still there right now?
I like it, George.
You see who I'm looking at?
Love it. Yeah.
This is my guy. So we could have went Trey Harris and we would have missed out on Harold Fannin Jr. And Keegan, to your point, there's no other Harold Fannin Jr. in the draft. We passed on Trey Harris. Pat Bryant is that guy. Same type of receiver. 6'3", 254 catches this year, 18 yards of reception, and with a 2.8 yards per route run. He was phenomenal for Illinois. I'm going Pat Bryant here. We're going back-to-back pass catchers. You cool with it?
Yeah, I love it.
Awesome. Can you picture this offense in the red zone really quick? We have an actual left tackle. We have an actual right tackle. We have Travis Hunter out wide because it's the red zone. It's money downs. We have Harold Fannin Jr. lined up in the slot, and we have Pat Bryant out wide as well. Love it.
I'm thinking 12 personnel. Ramondre Stevenson on the field. Hunter Henry also on the field. You got a running quarterback in Drake May. Oh.
It's phenomenal. Okay.
I love working at Nesson, but we're available. If somebody wants to come hand out a contract, I'll have to think about it.
I'm proud of us because we only traded back once.
Yeah, we could have done it 40 times.
Yeah,
Ethan would have killed us, but...
One of my mocks is saying, Keegan, I took 15 players, and I wasn't joking about it. Literally 15. So, corner/receiver, tackle, off-ball linebacker, tight end, wide receiver. This team, there needs to be a safety, and I think it's more of a free safety acquired.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look at what safeties are there.
Okay.
I want to see what interior D linemen are out there, because now it's depth. Right. Who are you getting? 137, 215. I like Keon Sabb a lot from Alabama. Maybe he falls at 215. I don't want to reach on anybody, so I'll stay away from the safeties, excuse me. Now, Danny Stutzman, we already have our off-ball linebacker. There's Tyler Cooper. Jonah Monheim.
I was going to say, this is kind of what I'm thinking of,
depth.
Where you want depth on the offensive line, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a tackle. You know, and Jonah Monheim can play tackle, but the whole thing about him at USC was he played left guard, center, right guard, and right tackle. Mm-hmm. So, and the Elliott Wolf thing, I already brought it up, but versatility on the offensive line.
I think it matters no matter what.
Right. So Cole Strange can play center in both guard spots. Layden Robinson has played both guard spots. Mike Onwenu has played right guard and right tackle. This is a guy who fits in terms of what you want to do. He's big. He's physical. He's nasty. He reminds me of like a taller Layden Robinson, where you might want to kind of move him out on the edge, see what he has at right tackle, but he can play all over the offensive line. And when you're looking for depth, you need guys who can play multiple positions. That's exactly what he can do. So,
I think he's great. Like in his career, 1,100 snaps at right tackle, almost 400 at right guard, 800 at center, 780 snaps at left tackle.
Yeah.
The guy played all over. Like, I don't have to say it because you hear it. He's an athlete. And especially at his size, 6'5", 310, if he can move and he can play in all these spots, because the offensive line is awful all over. Right. And again, if you take him like him, it'll take time to develop. He is a 5th-round pick for a reason. But you have a left tackle. Don't forget, you have Mike Onwenu, and you have a right tackle. Maybe it's a guy that can slide in at left guard. Maybe Layden Robinson makes a leap and becomes a better pass blocker. Fine. And all of a sudden, you have options at center. I think this is a fantastic pick. Look, and in pass pro, like he's a technician. His everything he does is so well, and I think that's what's important for this team. You have the run blockers, you need pass blockers for your now year 2 quarterback, who's your franchise guy. I think we go Jonah Monheim here.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's do it. Now, reminder, if you guys are loving this podcast and you're loving the 6 picks we've made so far, because I love them as well, check out the latest episode of Foxborough Rush wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple. And I promise when you listen to those podcasts, Keegan's cough will be away. And make sure to watch on YouTube as well. Head to Nesson's YouTube page, hit the subscribe button. That's Foxborough Rush, available on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and wherever else your podcasts are found.
No one feels worse about this cough than me. Let me just put it out there. Hand up. My bad, guys. I'll fix it next time.
Keegan, real quick, my advice to you, as I'm always the mentor, on your way home, stop, get something of organic, all natural bone broth, drink a cup, put it in your microwave,
Protein.
put it in a coffee mug, microwave for like a minute, maybe 2 minutes. You may not love the flavor. It's going to help. Collagen helps with your immune system, helps your throat. Good collagen, good for the skin, my man. You're a handsome dude. Go check out some bone broth.
All right, I'll get some bone broth. So safeties, guys. Let's talk about safeties.
So far, Travis Hunter, Jonas Savanaya, Jihad Campbell, Harold Fannin Jr., Pat Bryant, Jonah Monheim. I love how this draft is going so far.
And now at this point, you're in the 7th round. You're just throwing darts.
Yep.
Right? You're trying to figure out who are the best players available. A Malachi Moore immediately jumps out to me. A guy who all his problems really are in terms of the way he acts on the field. Like, he's a good football player. It's just the personal foul penalties and the attitude. Can you rein that in? Who knows? But it's a good football player. And in the 7th round, you're not going to have many opportunities to get a good football player.
Yeah, and that's the thing, especially with the versatility that he was able to have, I mean, within his alignments, but also just this is a 5-year player at Alabama. So a finished product, but this is a guy that's a 5-year player at Alabama, like 5-year contributor in that secondary playing for Nick Saban. And look, he could be a safety. This Jabril Peppers has 1 real year left on his contract. Kyle Duggar, they just extended, but they need a lot of help on the back end. So, yeah, we got the corner to play opposite of Christian Gonzalez, but it's beyond that. I like Malachi Moore. And here's the thing, and I know I pointed it out in other videos that we've done. This is a small secondary the Patriots have. Yeah. Malachi Moore, 6 foot. Travis Hunter, 6'1". You need to get taller. You need to get bigger because receivers are getting bigger. I like this Malachi Moore draft pick here. Safety was a massive need for this team. I think it really was. And again, 7th round pick, if not this year, down the road, other picks.
George, show me the running backs.
All right, let's do it.
Because I think this is a spot where to take the load off of Ramondre Stevenson, you got to get somebody in the building. And Antonio Gibson's there, but Kevin Harris wasn't right. JaMychal Hasty wasn't right. Terrell Jennings, they haven't really given him an opportunity. So I think there's a spot here for a 3rd running back. Looking at this list, I know who you like.
You know who I want.
I like everybody on this list. I love Rocket Sanders is awesome. He's like a bully in the middle.
Yep.
Nick Singleton has just continuously shown like 100 yards a pop, no problem.
Yep.
Every game.
Big dude, too.
He's contributing. He's a big guy. And then Donovan Edwards, it's a home run threat.
That's it with Donovan Edwards for me. Now, is he going to be that reliable every down back? No. And it's insane. Donovan Edwards is Aaron Jones. Donovan Edwards is the next Aaron Jones, a weapon. Get the ball in his hands. He is he's exceptional in the open field. He's exceptional in space, and he's a home run hitter because of his speed. And I just want to accrue that. I want to get weapons all over. I'm pushing here, Keegan. You're my guy. You're my right-hand man. I love Rocket. I really like Nick Singleton. But Donovan Edwards, that's a dude that I think can be a real gem as a 7th round pick. I want to go Donovan Edwards.
Go for it.
All right. You know what, man? We work well together.
We do.
Just want to say that.
It's a give and a take, folks.
You know what? And when I say this, with Travis too, because as
absolutely.
we see who we took, Trav, we traded back, but we got your guy.
Got your boy.
Okay. You know what, man? I'm going to give this to you. Last pick in our first draft together. Who do you want?
Let Keegan cook. That's what people are saying. So what did we get so far? We have a wide receiver. We have 2 wide receivers.
Yep.
We have a cornerback.
Got to scroll down a little. Yep.
We have a tackle and an offensive lineman who can play everywhere. Got a safety, a running back, a tight end, a linebacker. What you don't have, and you already addressed through the Azeez Ojulari trade, is an edge defender. Okay. I like this class. So I'd like to look at the interior defensive linemen and the edge defenders to see, what do we have available to us? Howard Cross is a guy who might not be like the biggest, fastest, strongest guy, but he's produced. Thor Griffith is a superstar athlete. Like he was at Harvard before he went to Louisville and showed out there. He had kind of an off season at Louisville. Don't know much about Joe Evans. Don't know much about Colin Oliver. I think it's between Cross and Griffith, and I would go Griffith personally, but I know you mentioned Cross earlier to me. So
yeah, I know like Howard Cross, I think he's just a tweener, and that's fine. I mean, again, it's a 7th round pick. What are you going to get?
Right.
My biggest issue with this team, Keegan, was getting their ass absolutely beat at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Thor Griffith, 6'2", 320 pounds. You know what I'm big on, Keegs? I'm big on being in the weight room. I'm big on eating right. I'm big on putting on good weight, muscle, getting stronger. Howard Cross, 288. So he's right there. Not far off. But I don't want to be dominated at the line of scrimmage anymore. I want to go Thor Griffith here.
All right.
And you know what I like about Thor Griffith? Harvard, Louisville, you said off here. He plays in multiple systems. So let's go Thor Griffith.
Bruce Feldman, Freaks List guy.
Yeah,
Thor Griffith.
he was. All right, let's see. The grade is in. The
4.9.
draft is done. They don't like we took Alec Oyomanor. So quick recap we'll do. Traded back from 1 to 4, but also got the Giants' 2nd round pick, next year's 1st and 2nd, and Azeez Ojulari. Drafted Travis Hunter. Traded back into the 1st, got Jonas Savanaya. Got Jihad Campbell, off-ball linebacker. Harold Fandon Jr., weapon. Pat Bryant, weapon. Jonah Monheim, versatile offensive lineman. Malachi Moore, versatile defender. Donovan Edwards, weapon. Thor Griffith, big defensive lineman. I like this draft, Keegs. I really do.
I love that we got an F, we got a D, we got some C's. I'm big into that because PFF doesn't know what they're talking about a lot of the time in terms of like evaluation of players.
In this 1st round.
Love the F. Give me the F.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Big fan of that. I really like our first few picks, like the Harold Griffin and the Jihad Campbell. I think you're filling big needs that are undervalued and under talked about.
Yeah.
But I really like the back half of this draft because you're just throwing darts at guys who I think can contribute at the next level.
I think this is huge. You got Travis Hunter, corner, money down receiver. Jonas Savanaya, who could be your right tackle, really play on the left side too, or guard. Versatility. You got the off-ball linebacker that you need so bad on this defense. You need speed. Harold Fandon Jr., pass catcher, especially in the red zone. Pat Bryant, big play, downfield receiver, which you do not have. And then you got versatility on the other ends, man. We hit home runs. I love this. Keegan, an honor to draft with you, my man. Mock Draft 1.0 in the books, bud.
Yeah,
How do we feel?
We're going to have more throughout the year. I'm excited. I think we can build on this. I think we can get better. I think at some point somebody's going to come calling and they're going to say, come run our front office. It might be like a community college somewhere. But
I'd be down.
Big fan.
I'd be all for that. You know who needs us the most, I think? The New England Patriots.
Yeah.
They need us to lead the front office. I'm George Balekji. He's Keegan Stiefel. This is Foxborough Rush. Appreciate you guys checking out the mock draft. Leave a comment on YouTube. Let us know what you think of it, what you want us to do in the next draft.
Nice.
We'll do that. Have a good one. Have a happy 2025.